Welcome. My name is Debbie Watson, DAT Regional Program Lead for the Virginia region. I am joined by Liz Mays, volunteer partner from the Eastern North Carolina region. Together, we will provide a brief overview of the important role of the duty officer as we transition to the new Client Care Program and RC Care Client Relationship Management System. We will highlight what is changing and what is not changing for the duty officer. We will discuss the possible RC Care user roles that a duty officer volunteer may be interested in filling. And we will share some key resources. First, the duty officer is a key volunteer leader in a region's DAT program team. They have a significant program role in supporting DATs, so being familiar with and knowledgeable about programs and systems is important. The duty officer has important responsibilities in carrying out their job. Upon notification of a local disaster, the duty officer determines if Red Cross action is required. They dispatch DAT responders and monitor the response to ensure appropriate resources are made available, such as disaster mental health or disaster health services support. The duty officer provides technical guidance for DATs, whether DATs are on scene or responding virtually, and they may need to monitor activity across multiple DAT responses at one time. The duty officer also keeps regional leadership appraised of significant events and may contribute to an initial incident report for larger events. And the duty officer must be knowledgeable about programs and systems. Next, we will discuss the importance of the duty officer. DAT duty officers are the hub on our wheel. They are the linchpin. The Red Cross relies on the ability of the duty officer to be there as a resource for DATs. As a remote position, the duty officer allows a DAT supervisor and other DAT responders to focus on the clients and the scene, providing backup and support as needed. Another critical responsibility is ensuring the safety and well-being of the DAT responders through the life of the response. And the duty officer maintains situational awareness to ensure that it is safe to respond, and if not, determine appropriate course of action to assist the client. So let's take a look of what is changing with the launch of RC Care and the new Client Care Program. With the new Client Care Program and move to using RC Care, there may be some changes for duty officers. A duty officer does not have a designated RC Care system user role. This allows for flexibility and choice for the volunteer to decide what, if any, RC Care user role they'd like to hold. Later in the presentation, we will discuss some of the RC Care system user roles available to a duty officer. In a region and/or DAT response area, duty officers will not create cases or activate CACs. As with CAS 2.0, there is no duty officer system user role in RC Care. Again, this provides flexibility for the duty officer in holding other system roles in program positions. In RC Care, if DAT needs assistance in creating a case, they will have other options such as contacting the DAT intake hotline, where trained agents can assist with creating a case in RC Care. The DAT intake hotline reduces the administrative burden on duty officer and allows them to focus on their responsibilities to support DAT responders during a response. DAT duty officers play an important role from the initial disaster notifications to ensuring that the DAT responders have the support that they need during the response. This isn't changing. Duty officers will continue to gather information from emergency management officials such as fire departments prior to dispatching DATs. Additionally, duty officers can continue to serve as a DAT responder when they are not on a shift as a duty officer. For regions using RCView DAT Dispatch or other event management systems, these systems will continue to be used for managing events. Eventually, RC Care will integrate with RCView DAT Dispatch, but not in the first version of RC Care. I will now turn it over to Liz to discuss the DAT program user roles for duty officers and other resources.
Thank you, Debbie. Many have asked, why can't a duty officer do intake to create a client case or act as a second responder? To build a strong, consistent, and healthy DAT program, it is important that all DAT responders are engaged. If a DAT duty officer does intake or acts as a responder in RC Care, it reduces the opportunity to engage responders across a region. In the situation of a duty officer doing intake capacity could be impacted. If a duty officer leaves, you will lose a duty officer and a DAT responder at the same time. While it is understood that there may be capacity issues in a region, perhaps more so in some rural areas, DAT programs should continue to strive to engage as many DAT responders across the region as possible. In fact, there are strategies that a region can use to bridge areas where there may not be enough responders. For example, a single responder in a remote area of a region can and should be supported remotely by a DAT supervisor anywhere in the region. Regions may also consider setting up a regional duty officer structure that will reduce the number of duty officers needed to be on shift at any given time in a region. This allows duty officers who want to respond as DATs more opportunity to be available. This regional structure has been implemented successfully by some of our busiest regions that support a high volume of responses. It can also make sense for regions with large geography. With RC Care, intake must now be completed with the client during the interview in order for the client to receive financial assistance. If a duty officer is called away on another call, you cannot put the client on hold or go back later and enter the case, as this would delay client service. With the program standard of 2 DAT responders on a response, the client has both responders working on their behalf to interview the client, create the case, and complete the required confirmations in RC Care. Finally, the administrative burden is reduced for a duty officer if they are not creating cases. It allows them to be ready to support their DATs in the field if and when the need arises. As stated previously, the duty officer has leadership responsibilities in the region that are different from those of the DAT responder. As an important leader in the DAT program, duty officers are required to take the 3 classes for an intake worker. However, this does not necessarily mean they will have the intake worker role. This aligns with the program requirements that a duty officer meet the training requirements of a DAT service associate. This ensures that the duty officer is knowledgeable about the DAT program and systems used by DAT. We know that many, if not most of our volunteers wear many Red Cross hats, and that's okay. However, we also know that no matter how many hats we may have, we only wear one at a time. So let's take a closer look at some possible RC Care system user roles that a duty officer may choose to hold. Keep in mind that in some cases, the RC Care user role has the same title as the job position a volunteer may hold. For example, event reviewers, compliance reviewers, and ID address document reviewers are both job positions a volunteer can hold and also reflect the RC Care system user role they would have. For other positions, this will not be the case. For example, a DAT supervisor would usually hold the intake worker system user role, or perhaps a caseworker user role if they also do follow-up casework. Depending on the other job positions a duty officer holds, this will help determine the appropriate RC Care system user role this volunteer would possibly hold. As a reminder, individuals may only hold one system user role in RC Care. As stated earlier, DAT duty officers do not have a designated RC Care system user role. This allows for flexibility and choice for the volunteer to decide what, if any, RC Care user role they'd like to hold. A duty officer who also serves as a DAT responder when not on their duty officer shift might hold the intake worker user role. Or if they are also involved in recovery casework, they may actually hold a caseworker user role, which enables them to conduct the recovery planning during follow-up with the client. If they don't have any of those other positions, then the event reviewer role may be a great fit for them. The event reviewer confirms and documents in RC Care that an event actually happened when two responders are not available. Another system role to consider is the compliance reviewer. The purpose of this position is to support the region in ensuring compliance with programmatic guidelines and mitigating against fraud through the monitoring of financial assistance and detailed review of case. And still another user role might be the ID address document reviewer. A person holding this user role will review and confirm client identification and address documents when the client does not pass the system's automatic ID and address verification and when two DAT responders are not available. This is a detail-oriented job. For additional information on user roles, contact your regional RC Care rollout team. Now we're going to take a look at the duty officer's role in collecting the detailed damage assessment. As we move to the client care program in RC Care, the criteria of livable, not livable has been replaced with the detailed damage assessment classifications. This shift ensures that we are consistent in assessing damage from DAT Level 1 operations all the way up to Level 7 disaster relief operations. In order to determine eligibility for immediate assistance, the detailed damage assessment confirmation is needed. The detailed damage assessment for DAT Response Operations Job Tool, highlighted on this slide, covers the new damage classifications, also referred to additional tools and tip sheets found on the RC Care Toolkit. The duty officer should become familiar with this job tool. While DAT responders on scene will do their own detailed damage assessment, there will be times when the information may be captured by the duty officer during the initial notification from the fire department or other emergency official. This will be helpful when DATs are conducting virtual responses under our COVID-19 protocols. The capturing DDA information for virtual DAT responses in RC Care tip sheet outlines options for obtaining that information when conducting virtual DAT responses as required under established COVID-19 protocols. The DDA helps to determine the client's eligibility for immediate assistance, supplemental assistance, and RDO exception assistance. Use this job tool in conjunction with the detailed damage assessment for DAT Response Operations Job Tool, which describes each classification and includes examples. Also refer to the COVID-19 DAT Response Tactics for RC Care Job Tool. The duty officer would obtain a verbal or written statement from the fire department, emergency official, or tribal representative. This information can be passed to the DAT responder for recording in RC Care. The responder will be responsible for making notes during intake when this method is used. This is important in supporting DATs. Ideally, the DAT responder should already have the DDA information when conducting the intake interview, as this will expedite financial assistance if the client is eligible. Next, we'll review available resources. You will find these resources for our DATs and duty officers designed to assist volunteers in using RC Care. I won't address each of the resources listed, but will highlight a few of the resources found on the RC Care Toolkit. The DAT Doctrine Bulletin, Program Procedures for RC Care, Also, the COVID-19 DAT response tactics using RC Care job tool, the DDA for DAT response operations job tool, the tip sheet capturing detailed damage assessment information for virtual DAT responses in RC Care, and finally, the draft duty officer job position. You will also find the links to training on the RC Care toolkit. And for additional duty officer job tools, please check out the DAT toolkit. On behalf of Debbie Watson and myself, we'd like to thank you for all you do to support our disaster action teams in the field, 365 days a year, 24/7. Thank you for your time.